parking where the Lomax Center is more often, because they'll have to park across the street.
Right, county
But
commissioner.
there's been other things we talked about. We talked about it offline.
And
I thought that they would go to the parking behind the city and build something. But of course, they have a ways in the house, so.
Yeah, but I mean, this was right there, front and center. I mean, I'd rather do
They got more
this.
room more than talking about here than they would behind. You can't go across.
And it'd be a shame to keep that building just idle.
Yeah. That parking lot, the south parking lot.
Well, you gotta sit beside the lawyer, basketball players, same thing.
Yeah, when it's the foundation for the Great Ghost, it used to be
did she do her, get her legacy thing?
They demolished it. Helped construct the foundation all the way up still underneath. And then if they ever need to do construction, they got rid of all of that out there.
Hey, might be for somebody with a shovel, but it ain't a big deal for somebody with something to do with it.
But, I hear you.
That needs to go to Milford and yourself, okay?
Okay. Back to work.
Back to work.
14.
Get your crap off.
Oh, yes, sorry, man.
You won't hear the chimes. We have them turned off right now because it's synced to the old daylight savings time changing. So we've got them turned off right now. So
That's a good idea, because a lot of people do pay attention to it.
I think Milford, you sign this still?
Milford, you want to sign?
You good?
Yeah, guys, can you have this?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would you like to say a prayer before we start? Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Litherland,
here.
Mr. Zollner,
Here?
Mayor Brown,
Here.
Mr. Ashworth,
Here.
Mr. Hazlett,
Here. Approval of the minutes from the prior meeting.
Motion to approve. Second.
Vote.
Mr. Hazlett,
Yes.
Mr. Zollner,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Ashworth,
Yes.
Mr. Litherland,
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And there is no public comment this evening. Administrator's report?
Yeah, there's one of those. First, I'd like to thank Margaret for double duty tonight. She's still in charge of the recording, and she's here for taking the minutes. The clerk is sick, but the deputy clerk is here.
Thank you, Margaret.
Anyway, start out with the Teller One Curve project and the City Trails project. We've been talking about that for some months, maybe some years, actually. The DOLA, Department of Local Affairs, you see the EIAF, that's Energy Impact Assistance Fund grant application. Talked about before, the city staff submitted the application to DOLA December 1st last year. Irv Halter was here, the executive director from DOLA, as well as some of his team was here last week to look at the project in preparation for the project hearings that are happening this week. They started Tuesday, they're today, and then they're tomorrow. And then so tomorrow, Mayor Brown, Mayor Pro Tem Zellner, Steve DiCamillo, Public Works Director, myself will be going before the Department of Local Affairs panel tomorrow to give a presentation. We have 7 minutes, so it's kind of like speed dating. So we're going to, we've already turned in a large application. They've already done what they call their pros and cons analysis. So far, it looks pretty favorable, but, we don't know. I counted them up yesterday. I forget, Bruce, what we have, 40 some, no, way more than 40 some people. I forget how many different applications are going before the Department of Local Affairs looking for funding. But hopefully we'll do well tomorrow. And we should find out the first half of April just how well we did. And then other good news related to grant or funding request for that, Cripple Creek and Victor Gold Mining Company, Newmont Mining Company came through. We asked for some money. They came through with a conditional award of $100,000 to go toward that project as well. So that's very good to see the new company still showing support. We submitted that application beginning of January, and they found out on March 3rd. And what it is, the conditional award, it's the same thing that I read how they worded it with the award they gave to Woodland Park for the Aquatic Center. They will award the money. Ours will be awarded in 2016 once we show that we've got the project fully funded. So it'll, if we don't get the money from DOLA, we'll have to decide if it's a project we can do as a city. If not, then we'll just tell the mine that we don't have it fully funded, and then they'll keep their money. We talked about this last time, but I just wanted to remind everybody, because this Ring the Peak Trail initiative that's going, it's part of the governor's 16 and 16 trail initiatives. And there is going to be the meeting set up for city officials, an information meeting in Victor at the City Hall at 10:30 a.m. on March 21st. Lee, you may be familiar with it. I know you weren't here last meeting, but there's an 8-mile section, and it basically, right now, if you were to do a bicycle, I looked on their website. It's really being pushed by this Trails and Open Space Coalition, so I went to their website. And right now you can pretty much ring the peak, but you hit Highway 67 at the Horse Thief Tunnel, you do 67 till Gold Camp, and then you hop back up into the woods. And so they're looking to tie that together. And while it may be a great idea, but maybe it's not. We don't know, because we don't know where the trail's going. They'll show us the proposed trails over there on the 21st. I plan on going to that meeting, and I would recommend that anybody from the council's Mayor Pro Tem plans to go. But I'd like to see where they want to go, because they will have to cross the watershed that provides the city water.
And it might be worthwhile, Ray, at that meeting to remind them that they will be required to comply with the city's watershed protection ordinance.
Okay.
And maybe even provide them a copy of it out of our municipal code.
Good idea. That's our fishing club. Not only water, right?
Go live on your back with no fishing pole.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Three new caretakers up there.
And then
They'll keep busy. Yeah.
while the city, we all know the city's not directly attached to the school-based health center out at the schools out here, the Cripple Creek and Victor Mountain Health Center. I think I did tell the council before that Penrose St. Francis Centura Health applied for a grant. They were awarded that grant from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment to reopen the center. Their plan is to reopen it by July of this year. There was a lot of logistics to work out. I was pretty impressed, because the grant was due on February 4th. They got it in a few minutes before the due time. I know how that goes. And they already found out. So that was a pretty quick turnaround on that. And so I think that's really good. They also have what they call the Community Advisory Committee. I joined that committee to stay informed on what's going on. And while they've had meetings in the past, I went to my first meeting last night. They have them in the evenings. And then at Cripple Creek Medical Plaza, I think I sent notice to the council a couple weeks ago. The septic system had plugged up. I mean, it's been on a septic system ever since it opened up, and I could have brought in a pipe. It wouldn't be gross, but the pipe is about a 2.5-inch pipe that was just packed full of sand. And evidently the joints, not all the joints were glued together when it was built, and the pressure caused them to finally separate, and it got filled up. It's a wonder it worked as long as it did. But anyway, so this past weekend, the building department worked around the clock with the contractor, plumbing contractor, to tie that in to the city sewer system. So that's all. And Steve DiCamillo had informed me that it was already stubbed up under the medical plaza, but the problem is that the septic system was on the opposite side of where the sewer was, so everything was sloped the opposite direction, so they had to replumb everything underneath to slope it toward the city sewer pipe. What's that?
Didn't have to pump it.
No. Well, they did pump it.
I mean, didn't have to put a lift station.
No, absolutely not. It's all working fine, and I think they did it for under $2,500.
Wow.
So,
Good job, Steve.
why did we wait so long? But anyway, it's been working fine till now, but it's a problem that's cured now. And then Mayor Brown pointed out to me and then when I looked in my junk mailbox on my email, I saw the invitation too, but I found out yesterday that Cripple Creek is hosting the next Goat Camp Business Mixer, and I'll be contacting a local restaurant to see if we can get some help. I don't know if there's any.
It's,
Yeah.
I'm
So,
sorry, there isn't a date on there, right?
oh, sorry, I didn't, no, well, yeah, but you know the
Oh,
time.
there's time, that's.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
time? Yeah, just keep going by the hair.
So it's next Tuesday. It'd be
When does
Tuesday next week. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Tuesday next week.
Just keep driving by every night.
Yeah,
and see what
Tuesday.
they
We'll
got
just keep
there.
driving by 5:30, 7:30. If you see more than 2 cars after 5:30, stop.
Stop.
All right,
Okay.
that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Finance Director's report, Paul?
We have the one item on the agenda.
All right. Okay, agenda item number 1. First reading of ordinance number 2016-02, a bill for an ordinance amending sections 13-5-30 and 13-5-40 of the Cripple Creek Municipal Code relating to water and sewer rates. Mr. Harris.
I'd also like to introduce you all know Melissa Beatty, our
Nice to meet you.
resident
Nice to
utility
meet you.
expert.
It's a pleasure.
So, a lot of changes, we'll discuss what they are, but first I want to talk big picture for a moment. I think the real purpose of this is that we don't want to become a Flint, Michigan with our water and sewer system at some point. We were very fortunate for 22 years, the city was able to subsidize water and sewer rates. And for our residents, we were able to keep the bill the same, $25, 15 water, $10 sewer, for 22 years. In 2014, we recognized, due to the change in the number of devices in town, where we used to average between 4,300, 4,500, we got down to 3,700, actually below 3,700. Financially, we couldn't do that. The fund balance in the fund has been run down significantly. We used to have $2.5 million in there. We started this year out with $662K. Doesn't allow us to do the kind of capital projects we need, replacing water and sewer lines, building up reservoirs, buying water rights for the future, development of the system. So to keep things healthy, in 2004, we put in a consumer price index piece where it increases based on the Colorado State Consumer Price Index, Denver, Boulder, and Greeley. So that was a positive step. We also put in thresholds at different gallon levels because we finally had the meter project completed and we could actually see what everyone was using to help with conservation and to help with keep our water in place. So what we're doing this evening is cleanup in this ordinance. I'm sorry there's a lot of redundant text, but what it is doing is striking anywhere that there's a dollar amount because those figures are all obsolete since they've been increasing with the CPI since 2014. And we're also including text that takes those numbers and then in subsequent budget years we'll have a complete schedule in the budget document that we'll talk about in the fall. This past fall we talked about just an overall increase in what the dollar amounts would be. Next time around we'll have it delineated by all these different categories. Commercial, residential, metered, unmetered, outside the limits, all those different types of things. So I think it'll be more effective to do it that way. As it also brings up to date the language to allow for a percent increase to help the water and sewer system themselves, as you approved in the budget process last fall, so that we can try and keep up with the times. You'll remember in 2014 when we also presented the rate study that Melissa did as part of her college capstone course, just because we had subsidized those rates and had not changed them, how far behind our community is compared to the Woodland Park and Manitou, Victor, Mountain Mutual, any of those. We've had artificially low pricing. So this year, we're looking at an increase of 5%, and we discussed that in the budget process in the fall. 1.2% of that is the CPI component, and 3.8% is the system component. Now, 5% can sound like a lot, depending on what number you're talking about. But when you're talking about a person who's using the average 8,000 gallons or less, it's 79 cents for water and 53 cents for sewer. So it's quite reasonable. We are not going to catch up to our competitors anytime soon, but we're just trying to slowly, get enough funds in there to keep our system going, working well, and being able to add on. So I'll just point out some of the highlights. And on the first page, most of the changes you see are just referring to that will delineate these rates in the budget documents and crossing out all the different dollar amounts that are stated. When we get page 2, basically that way also. When we get to page 3, you see a larger block of new text, item 4, and H. And this is outside meter, we use the term non-residential, but it's really commercial rates. And we have our first outside commercial person, Black Hills, when they put in their station. So that text addresses Black Hills and any commercial development outside of our city limits. Please feel free to interject at any point.
The way those guys raise their rates, they better not say anything about it.
Yeah.
We weren't going to have a little asterisk that their rates were tied to whatever they did to our.
Would that be good? That'd be good.
But then we could really catch up.
Yeah, we could.
On page 4, you see the items 1, 2, and 3. Item 1 has been in there since 14, the CPI component. Item 2 is what we discussed about the additional component approved through the budget process to help maintain the system and its operation. And item 3 is just that we're going to round up to the nearest tenth, so that 3329 would be 3330. Because believe it or not, we actually get complaints from people, Melissa does, about I can write out all this.
29 cents.
Is that the right phrase for that, nearest tenth of a cent?
Nearest.
Yeah, it's tenth of a dollar.
Nearest, yeah.
But
tenth of a
actually,
dollar.
hundredth of a dollar. Yeah, tenth of a dollar.
First would be 10.
Just round up to the next highest figure.
Round up to the nearest $100.
We'll round out for years. Bottom of 4, unmetered residential sewer. We do have a few people outside our city limits that receive residential water and sewer, and it's customary that people outside your limits pay a slightly higher charge, so this incorporates that. And then page 5, under item 2, you get into what we would say commercial sewer outside of the boundaries. So again, like a Black Hills type issue, they are going to be on a septic out there, but we're just building in the text in case someone did have that kind of system in place. And that's really, yeah.
This still seems artificially low to me, though. I mean, I'm not a big proponent of raising rates and taxes, but when we have something this blatant that has been kind of hamstringing us for many, many years, do you think that we're raising them enough, I guess is what I'm...
Well, I think that the thing is, as I understand it, is that every budget season, we have the option of doing that, because this is a generic, and next year, if you decide you feel that way and want to propose it, we have the option, is that correct? To raise it different than...
That's correct, and what our plan is for the 17 budget cycle,
right.
So for this coming fall,
Right.
what we'd like to do, Melissa's main rate survey and study was in 2014. We'd like to bring some components of that forward with updated data so that we can, justify a larger increase based on the competitors or similar providers in the area. So we're happy to have the CPI in there. We're happy to get the language in for the budget piece that we talked about this fall. And then I think for larger system increases, it will either be because the water attorneys come forward and they say, okay, now we need to do this dam on Oil Creek and a pipeline, and you're going to have a large capital need, or because we can present a rate analysis with other providers to justify it.
I'm with you, I like our rates, but, you know,
I like them too, but
money's money for the city, we have to be cognizant of that also.
So maybe, Paul, you could just make clarification. There's been a question out there saying, well, why not just sell more water to the mine?
Well, we do have a contract with the mine,
Right.
and it's for 200 acre feet.
250.
50, yeah, under the new document. They can't, and that's take and pay, so they're paying that as a minimum, whether they use it or not. They do in some years, depending on rain conditions, utilize more. But when the contract was negotiated, that was the base that they were interested in. So we,
Yes.
you know, we'd love to sell them more, but they haven't come forward and said, oh, we need 500 acre feet, guaranteed take or pay.
But this ordinance would give the flexibility to take that into consideration, since you basically do your rate setting at budget time.
Right.
So,
Every year we can
exactly.
see where we're
That's
at.
exactly right.
Well,
just
except
hate
with
to
the
have to
mine,
raise it every
it's
Yeah,
year.
except
contract
that's a
for multiple
Yeah,
years.
you already signed that one, so.
Yeah, and it has inflation
Right.
indexes in it
Right.
too, so it increased
Yeah.
4% this year,
Yeah.
straight up.
And I realize that nobody likes higher rates, but like you said, we are very low, and this might impact some businesses and maybe casinos a little more, but still pretty darn low.
Well, there are advantages to operating this as a pure utility, too. Paul and I have discussed this a lot over the last 15 years. In all likelihood, our utility system is not a taper enterprise because it's subsidized more than 10%.
My device.
Yeah, so if we were to get it so that the rates were generating 90% of the cost of the utility, that would open up a lot of taper avenues that are not available to us right now.
Well, we were also being hamstrung by our old rates when we applied for grants.
Right.
Because, you know, Colorado Rural Water, and everybody's like, well, you have ridiculously
You're giving
low rates,
water,
you're
right, yeah, we
increasing
want
them.
more for it.
Why should we give you money for your system?
True. That's a good point.
Is there any public comment?
If I could help phrase the motion, because we did, I think, identify an amendment. I think it's right, that should be tenth of a dollar.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it's on page 7 as well.
Exactly. So the appropriate motion, I think, would be to approve ordinance number 2016-02 with amendments on pages 4 and 7, changing the word cent to dollar.
I would like to make that motion.
Second.
Vote?
Mr. Hazlett,
Yes.
Mr. Zollner,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Ashworth,
Yes.
Mr. Litherland.
Yes. Appreciate your work, Paul and Melissa. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks.
All right, guys, that's all we have on the agenda for this evening. Nice and sweet and quick. Meeting's adjourned. Have a good night. Huh? There's an athletic banquet.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's what Archie told me.
Friday, yeah, yes, I realize it. Yeah, I saw that. Right, see, it's gonna be, it's Friday, I'm finishing. I'll hear from Susie right on.
Boyfriends in California who tries to watch it. All right, so I'll see you 6-ish. I'll be ready. I'll be ready to change over.
Sunday or Monday or
If
something.
you come at 5, if you come at 5:30,
Okay, if that's the case.
might get you a curlers in the
See what's going on. Okay.
Thank you very much, Lee. Appreciate it. See you in the morning, buddy.
Oh, 6 o'clock, man.
Yeah, you can have the top. Good luck.
I'm bringing a thermos. I got a thermos, man.
We have a good trip. Yeah, last couple trips up there have been pretty important, and we're asking for a lot of money. So.
Right at the end, if we can get this, we got it.
Wouldn't that be get this over with and we can relax a little bit? Anyway,
6-hour round trip or a 7-minute presentation?
yeah, I'm coming on the way into this thing, but I appreciate what you guys are doing. I really do. Well, it's well worth it.